Okay then, Martin. So question one, please. What do you like about your work?
I like the extremely varied nature of the engagements that I get involved in. Some of them fairly cutting edge with interesting clients, um, and it's quite a challenge to do that at scale, using the latest technology, working with leading organizations in their respective fields. So I find it, yeah, that's what's interesting about it.
Yeah. And how did you get started in what you do?
Well, I was quite fortunate in that my dad was running an IT company since I was about 5 or 6 years old. So I got really good exposure to the latest at the time computers that they were using. This is all before the internet. Um, and we had lots of computers around the house, and I'd go and visit his offices and play around with them there. So I developed my skills that way, started doing some programming, and this was at a time when computing wasn't a particularly serious subject at schools, and it wasn't taught with a huge amount of enthusiasm at our school. So when it came to A levels, I actually was doing my normal A levels, maths, physics, and technology, and then in the evenings, 2 times a week, I would be studying at a local college who did offer a computing A level. So I did that one as a fourth A level, the only one I got an A in, and after that went off to do computer science at university, which it was not exactly as I expected it would be. There was a lot of theoretical mathematics and not quite so much applied computing, which is what I thought it would be. So as it happened, I actually got offered a job before I finished university. So I took that job up and I left university, and I transferred all of my credits to the Open University and finished off my degree. I switched from computer science to computing, which is applied computer science, which was much more suited to me. And I completed that whilst I was working. And having the working and studying at the same time was very good, because it meant I was constantly doing a lot of book work, which I could then immediately apply to the work that I was undertaking. And when I was working, I got offered opportunities to look at new technologies by my employer. So I, jumped at that opportunity, and that, turned out to be a good move. The programs and applications that they asked me to take a look at turned out to be become very popular in the near future, and so my skills were quite in demand. So after that, I didn't particularly have to look for work. I would just be contacted by employment agents, and would you be interested in applying for this job, or even would you like this job? And I quite quickly started doing contract work as opposed to being a full employee. So I was actually a contractor working through my dad's company. He would have a business-to-business agreement with another company, and I would go in for a period of time. It could be one day, it could be a few weeks, it could be 2 years, and so I would go in and work as a contractor with specialist skills, which was it's good because the pay is normally, it was then much higher than a normal employee, but you don't get any of the benefits. You don't get any paid holidays. So when you take a holiday, you don't get paid. You have to fund your own training. So you have to be in charge of your own training regime, whereas employers would typically subsidize that to some extent. and you have to also arrange your own pension contributions and any other benefits that you would ordinarily expect through a traditional employer. So I did that in the UK for a while, and I ended up working for a big bank in Canary Wharf up until the financial crash in 2008. But purely coincidentally, I just arranged to move to China at that point for 5 years, which was a very exciting time. I was quite lucky to have that opportunity. And I think it's been a tremendously helpful, probably for personal development rather than professional development, but it really gave me exposure to a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds. And so when you're in that position, you tend to absorb a lot of their experiences and knowledge, which can reap benefits further down the road when you get the chance to apply that knowledge in your next role.
Yeah. So
that was an excellent opportunity, which lasted for 5 years.
So what advice could you give to someone that's looking to start out today in your industry?
Well, what I found is that there are some things that I'm naturally good at. They don't really require much effort or thought on my part, and then I'm surprised when other people really struggle to do those things. So it might be something as straightforward as reviewing a legal contract and checking to make sure that it's fairly watertight. So even though I do IT, we do a lot of contracts. So that's a good skill to have. So I find that comes quite naturally to me. I actually enjoy doing it, and it's a good fun thing to do. Also, certain technologies that we work with, because I've had a lot of exposure to IT when I was younger, I have a lot of that knowledge just built in. It's there permanently. I don't need to go and refresh my knowledge on it. I just know it all already, and that provides quite a high base from which to operate. Whereas other people coming in later on, they have to learn all of that afresh. So I think play to your own strengths. So if you're naturally good at doing something, then you'll find it much easier to succeed and progress in your chosen career. There are for example, there's somebody I know who works in market research, and he just loves it. He absolutely loves it. He can almost not stop working each day. He works until he gets phoned up by his wife. 12 hours a day. And he his career trajectory has been amazing.
I might like a video on him.
Yeah. He's gone off to run. He was running a company in China, a very big, well-known company. He was the MD of that of the UK office. He got transferred and promoted to run Europe and then in America because he just loves market research, and he enjoys doing the work. For other people, it would be a grind, 12 hours a day, looking at their clock, waiting, counting down the minutes to go home. But if you really enjoy it, then you just naturally do very well. So it is a bit cliched, but yes, you need to. It's good to try and find something that you enjoy doing, and then you would have fun whilst succeeding.
Okay.